I'm joined now by Yasser Tabbara. He's the spokesman and legal advisor for the National Coalition of Syrian Revolution and Opposition Forces. Yasser Tabbara, thanks for being with us. What is your reaction, I should say, to lawmakers in the U.S. who say, look at Iraq. Why should the U.S. get involved in this war thousands of miles away when it has nothing to do with us? What would you tell them?
I would simply say that this is not Iraq, this is not Afghanistan, this is not the Bush administration. This is an administration that had resisted getting involved in a 2.5-year-long series of massacres by the Bashar al-Assad regime, using ballistic missiles, using Air Force dropping TNT barrels on over 60% of Syrian land is liberated areas, and that regime did not shy from doing anything to basically destroy and kill and maim and rape. And the latest episode is a chemical attack. So I would say this is more in line of a humanitarian strike that resembles what happened in Bosnia and Kosovo. I would also remind these lawmakers that what if the United States did not act? What if the international community did not act in Bosnia and Kosovo? You would have hundreds of thousands more killed because of the Russian basically stubbornness to prevent any international action back then. So this is a much more similar situation to what took place in these contexts than it is to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Have you or any members of the National Coalition had meetings with lawmakers or phone calls? What was discussed, if so?
We have been trying to raise as much awareness as possible about what's taking place in Syria. I think part of the reason that the lawmakers, the Congress, the American people have had such perhaps a negative approach to President Obama's willingness to go ahead and end the humanitarian catastrophe in Syria is the fact that they are misinformed or ill-informed. And what we're trying to do is raise as much awareness as possible. We are finding listening ears. We are telling these lawmakers that this is something that has been going on for 2.5 years. This is not a civil war. This is a regime that decided to quell a revolution, a populist movement with the utmost of brutality. And this is their modus operandi. They've used ballistic missiles, Scud missiles, they've used Air Force, they've used chemical attacks. This is only the latest episode of these horrific crimes.
Apologies for jumping in. Here's another argument. People who oppose U.S. military intervention say this. They say, why is this America's job when you have an organization called the Arab League? This is happening in its own backyard, and they essentially are doing nothing. Why not the Arab League in that case? You have countries there who have the arms necessary to respond.
The Arab League has met a couple of days ago and have basically come out with a very supportive statement to what President Obama is trying to do. And it has expressed that it will provide the necessary support should the Obama administration decide to act. Let's also remind everyone with the international legal obligations, when you have a mad regime, a madman that basically unleashes all sorts of weapons of mass destruction, commits all sorts of crimes against humanity, against his own people, you have something called the responsibility to protect. When a regime starts killing their people with the utmost brutality, then that regime basically loses its sovereignty over its people, and the international community has the responsibility to protect the civilians on the ground.